Romans is an amazing book. I've studied it many times. But the I and the we and the you, singular you and the plural you, those all have to be sorted out as to what they mean.
We talk about the misinterpretation of scripture quite often at beEmboldened, significant part of what we do. And I love helpful tips when teaching others that will assist them in more easily remembering these new skills. So with that, would you please tell us about the rule of pronouns?
Oh, yes. Every book, at least I guess the last 3 books, maybe not the first one, but books 2, 3, and 4, I have one chapter that's really focused on Bible interpretation and the tools of Bible interpretation that I use, which is not a secret, are not a secret, because I have a page on my website, here'sthejoy.com, that tells my beliefs and my ways of interpreting the Bible. So one of the key things that my husband and I learned probably 20 or 30 years ago was that when pronouns are being used in the Bible, and in the past I used to have to tell what pronouns were. I probably don't need to do that anymore. When pronouns are being used in the Bible, we don't need to necessarily say, okay, that pronoun definitely applies to me. So when Paul is teaching something and says you or we, I used to just always apply it to myself unless it was super obvious that it couldn't apply to myself, like when he says, I'm going to try to make a trip to Spain. Obviously, that's Paul talking. That's not me.
Right.
But when he says, I die daily, I thought that was me. And I thought I was supposed to be daily dying to self, and that Bible verse has nothing to do with that at all. But to learn that the pronouns apply in that context, to read it that way, and to learn what the writer was saying about himself, his group of people, whoever it was, all the Jews or all the Christians or whoever, and then what he was saying to the people he was writing to, like the Galatians. Paul was very upset with the Galatians. Why was he upset with them? Let's find out. Do I fit in that group? Well, maybe or maybe not. Let's find out what was going on with them. And am I like that? Maybe, maybe not. So it takes analysis to think. We don't just say, all right, this is me. This is for sure me. And that was revolutionizing to our Bible study. It really helped us step back from, well, making it all about me for one thing, but also taking upon myself stuff that didn't apply and was making me feel like I was a mess when it wasn't about me at all. Someone wrote to me several years ago, maybe 5 years ago, and asked me to help her with Romans 2, because Romans 2 starts out with, you, oh man, or person, reader, you are just as bad as the people I just wrote about in chapter 1. She said, I feel like I can't say anything about my abuser because I'm just as bad. And of course, that's one of those sin leveling things.
Right.
And so I wrote a long blog post about it, using the rule of pronouns, what I call it, and explaining who he was talking to. Who was he talking about in chapter 1? Who is he talking about in chapter 2? And do you fit in that category or not? And he was basically talking to people who were just like the Pharisees. Is that who you are? I said to my friend, or not? And she knew that it wasn't, because she loved Jesus. And she was just as mind blown about the concept of pronouns as I was when I first learned about it, that these do not necessarily apply to us. And again, it's one of those if the shoe fits things. If you are in that category, then yes, but let's make sure that you really are.
Right. Right. And this is not to say that there isn't something for us to still glean. And Rebecca, I know you would agree with that. There is. We want to make sure that we're gleaning what's really in there.
Yes, right. Understanding Paul's argument throughout the book of Romans. Romans is an amazing book. I've studied it many times, and wonderful, wonderful book. But the I and the we and the you, singular you and the plural you, those all have to be sorted out as to what they mean.
Right. Thank you.